We're rocking and rolling.
Let's go. Rocking and rolling.
I'm going to munch one of these from behind the camera.
I'm going to get one to take that down.
Do it.
Tell Anne to stop distracting everyone.
Yeah.
Sit down. There's always one, isn't there? She's always one, it's always you. Right, everybody, I'm just very conscious of time, obviously, so we'll get started. So myself and Rebecca have been asked by Dave, he accosted me in one of my groups the other day, just to come in to speak to you about sort of learning visits, which obviously I think are on the horizon. I believe next week Andy will be running through kind of the structure and the kind of the new approach to learning visits. For those who kind of are more experienced, who've been here for a while or have worked elsewhere, you know, learning visits, observations, standardisation, lots and lots of different guises under which this is often kind of framed. Really, for the first 30 seconds, minute or so, whether you're experienced or inexperienced, just wanted to quickly chat between you about what you want out of these, what you expect out of these learning visits. So the ones that are approaching that will be taking place over the next coming weeks, months. What is it that you would want from those learning visits as a practitioner, and what maybe concerns do you have about learning visits? Because it's always kind of something in the background where people go, there's somebody coming into my group. So it's a natural feeling. So just really quickly, 30 seconds a minute between you, just what is it that you're wanting out of these learning visits, and what is it maybe that makes you a little bit wary? And then we'll have a chat with you about our experiences and see what you think.
That's my chance.
It's just, I don't mind anything.
I'm trying to get a 15-hour fasting, so no.
As I remember,
It's fine.
Part of the conversation we need to have, isn't it? Renzo, were you liking my my pan ability? Look at that. It's actually moving. Yeah.
So we've heard a couple of kind of key aspects already come out of this. So first and foremost, we can start with what do we want from it? What do we kind of want to achieve from these learning visits? Anybody got any kind of personal kind of views on what they would like to take out of these learning visits?
I think it's always nice to get some feedback, somebody else's perspective on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You might not completely miss something or try something and think it's amazing and somebody else might have a good take on it. So
Right.
I think that's always useful.
Well, so just an opportunity to get some impartial or some different feedback from somebody maybe you don't know. So I think we often go and see each other within division, and more often than not, I think when you do kind of those peer observations, you tend to pick somebody that you know, or that you're quite familiar with, or that you know that likes you. So that you come out of that observation, you just get that pat on the back, and you go, I feel good about myself. But actually, an opportunity maybe for some more neutral feedback for professional development. Okay. Anything else that anybody would want from these kind of, I suppose, learning visits?
I think it's like sharing good practice, so like across division, like I know from a practical side, how do say sports or public services incorporate advanced English for like our learners? I know that's something that we can pick up on.
Yeah, brilliant, and that is a really important one. I think, in our division, the A-levels division, I think I've been a big sort of promoter of the idea that you don't just go and see familiar subjects as well. So, English subjects, go out and see the STEM subjects, go and watch them teach, because teaching in itself is a skill. It's not just about your subject knowledge, it's about the actual ability to be a practitioner within that room. And you'll pick up strategies in areas that you think are in no way related to yours, But actually, you will find really, really effective kind of teaching strategies that go on. So I think sharing best practice is a really, really good way of looking at the learning visits. Anything else about what individually you might want from these? It could be something as simple as just a bit of a confidence boost, or
just a sort of objective opinion of this, and not if you're doing something wrong. I'd like somebody to be just like confident to say actually you need to be maybe improving on this, or
right.
somewhere where I feel like
Right, so some constructive criticism.
yeah.
Interesting one to start on, though. We'll come back to that as well, because I think that often ties into the concerns.
I think it's just on that. Sometimes you want someone to come and tell you what you have to do right as well.
Right.
Because half the time you might think, or you might get a bit of imposter syndrome thinking, oh, it might just up me here. And sometimes someone telling you that you're actually doing quite well.
Yeah.
Is
100%. I think that's really, really important. It's a good way of looking at it. You know, the constructive criticism areas to improve, we always want to develop, we always want to improve as teachers, as practitioners, but at the same time, we're human beings. It's nice to know that, you know, you're doing something well and that there are loads of positives, and I guarantee that regardless, every single session will have really strong positives within there. And it's nice to actually hear that sometimes, because like I said, you don't always kind of stand there and go, my God, that'd be good. Like, walking out of class just going, whew, nailed it. You know, it's very often we go the opposite way, don't we? We can be self-critical.
especially teaching, if you're on your own in there,
Yeah.
the only real feedback you get is from the students who are like, yeah, it's alright.
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
It's got hours today. It was sound, apparently. Yeah, brilliant.
I suppose for me, you know, I've actually been a teacher for 2 weeks, so it's all new to me. So if I link it back to industry, every time an audit came in, there was a hysteria. Oh my God, the audit is here. So you know, it's to join an organisation where culturally it's the norm.
Yes.
There isn't that hysteria around. Oh my God, an audit is coming in here. So you know, for it to be what it is, what it says on the tin, it's about coming in, it's about highlighting what's great, highlighting what's perhaps not so great within the individual parts of the fabric, rather than the hysteria and, oh my gosh, the audit's coming in.
Yeah.
To look at what we want to do. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that comes into the kind of, I suppose, the fear side. Amy was saying about this idea that we all, regardless of whether it's professionally or personally, we all got this kind of natural innate fear of being judged. And the judgment is not part of this process. This process is developmental. And it's meant to be, like you say, familiar. You should be going in to see each other. So when somebody comes into that room, there is no kind of taboo element to it. It's not, oh my God, this is looming presence that's hovering outside my door. You know, as soon as you hear that door handle go, everybody clams up. And I think that's one of the key aspects that we were talking about. This is natural, normal. Those people coming into that room, it's your room. You know what's best for those students. You know what's going on within that class, and you know how to deliver those sessions. In terms of just little kind of things that have gone on in the past, I think pitfalls that people fall into is overcomplicating and over-prepping during where they think somebody might be coming into their session. I know, Rebecca, we were talking about this, weren't we, where people go into overdrive and change everything that they would normally naturally do. One of the things that will be asked probably by people who come in for learning visits is to students, is this something that you regularly do? So if you're stood there, I was joking with Dave earlier on, if you're stood there with like your wizard hat on at the front with like 15 different carousel activities, and that's normally what you do not do, the students will know that. They will turn around and they will say, no, like, this is not, Ian, it's never this fun. And I can take from personal experience, I did that about 7-8 years ago, and I just got into a massive sort of panic about it, and I started thinking, right, carousel activities are the way forward, definitely. Before I knew it, I had 25 students in this group, and they were carouselling so much that I couldn't even remember where they were supposed to be in the first place. So there was just a sea of bodies sort of moving around the room like zombies. And I was like, I think you're there. It was like 20 minutes of just logistics trying to work out where they were going. It just fell to bits because I've never really done that kind of thing. It wasn't my style. So you don't need to do that. Has anybody got any kind of other fears, barring the kind of the idea of the judgment, because that's not part of this?
I think it's how everyone else talks about it before it happens as well. Like for me last year, it was that everyone else was worried about it, so we kind of took that on before it happened because that's what we expected.
Yeah, I think that was tying back into that kind of that hysteria that gets whipped up, and I think that's where you really need to look at this. It shouldn't be even a concept necessarily. Learning visits are positive things to look forward to. That somebody coming in, you get an opportunity to show off what your learners are doing. And those learners get an opportunity to show off what they have been learning within your group. They are at the heart of it. You know, that's not to say that, you know, you might have learners within your group and you know, I think one of the fears sometimes is you look at two or three learners, you know maybe they've been a bit of a problem. Either there'll be behavioural issues or attendance issues or progress issues. But they will, you know, somebody will come in and probably ask them a question. So if you get a learner in that group and you know, don't kind of go in with like a barricade around the outside and sort of two or three learners are going to not ask them a question. Embrace the idea that every single learner in that group is different. Every single one of them is making progress at different stages. And as long as they are making progress, that's the most important thing. But I think you're exactly right, that hysteria, and I think that's where you just chat to each other. Well, what is it, again, positively that you're looking for? It's meant to be developmental. I don't know if there's anything kind of specific, Rebecca, that you kind of experienced. I know that we chatted about it quite a lot.
I think that hysteria, that panic. So we've been here too long, and we've seen the kind of the different iterations of the observation window process, what was standardisation process, and it can be nerve-wracking. But I think the way that this is moving forward, that idea of a developmental, a supportive, progressive approach to it, where what we're looking for in lessons is very much the journey that the students are on, and you control that journey to a certain extent and the narrative behind it. So if a student is on the journey, we're all good wherever they happen to be, and I think that can be the bit that's worrying. We're not walking in kind of going everybody should be at the absolute highest standard possible, they should all be at that grade A or whatever grading system you use. It's about recognising that every student is on their own pathway as a you. And I think that was what used to stress me out. You just come in and you just think, oh, every student needs to be absolutely on it today. And sometimes they're not, but that's okay. Where are they at and where's that progression going?
I think the other part as well is these learning visits, and I think this is where there has been a big kind of cultural shift, and for me it's a positive one, that these are not isolated standalone sessions. These are part of a bigger picture. So they're not only representative of progress within that session, so we would want to see kind of progress that students are making within that small time frame, so around about 45 minutes or so I think it will be. But that's also progress linked into that week, that month, the scheme of learning overall. So those are important kind of questions that will be asked to you. Okay, well, why have you sequenced this in the way that you have? What is it about this particular lesson that made you put it at this time of the year? What have you thought about in terms of your learners? Why this particular task? So it's not just about that isolated session. It's about how does that link into the longer sort of learning picture? Because progress over time is not just progress in a 10-minute session. It's progress then in that week, or progress between formative assessments, and then obviously linking into progress over the course of the whole year. So don't kind of think and feel like you have to do something really kind of gimmicky or unique in that session. Just do what you normally do. And I think that's, know your learners is probably the best advice I can give. Dave, I know you were talking about this earlier on, weren't you? Just know your learners and feel comfortable with that person in your group.
I was just going to jump in with a few things. So when Ian asked everyone to start talking, one of the first words I heard was stress about this. So you can help each other out in terms of popping into each other's classrooms and just doing that sort of someone else coming into the room. Expect, as I said to you, when your observation is coming round, expect them to talk to that student you don't want them to talk to. Imagine that is going to happen. But if you start getting used to other people coming to the classroom and students getting used to other people coming to the classroom, not necessarily so for example, if I was back in media, like Helen or Jason coming in, because the students see them all the time. So I might ask, Chris, Rebecca to come in, it's slightly different, the students might not recognise them too much. So it's just that element of helping the students when someone else comes in the room, which will make it easier for you because you know that they're a little bit better prepared for it as well. Which again is not just the lots of stuff at Ofsted, but when Ofsted do come in, they're going to start talking to students. It should be just the norm. People coming in saying what you're doing.
Yeah, and learners at the centre, like I said, learners are the centre of everything in that. It's moved very much the model away from you at the front doing shiny, fancy things. It's the students actually enjoying the session, making progress in the session. Largely what you're doing doesn't really mean that much at that point. You know, it's not the you show. And I think it used to be like that. You go, right, okay, I'm going to put my best performance on now, and then this is really going to impress them. Actually, it's about those learners. Are they actually making progress? And as long as that's happening, then there's nothing to be concerned about. Like I said, Dave said the best thing, get out into each other's lessons. And that's not just within your own divisions, like I say, across divisions. it's a really, really positive thing to do. I've been down to maths and English sessions, and you know, the work that they're doing down there is brilliant. So seeing the kind of strategies they've employed with students who are resitting courses, so therefore they've got an immediate kind of battle from the beginning of students who don't want to do that course because they've been made to do it again. And I've seen sessions there where those students are enjoying those lessons way more than my students enjoy my own. So what am I doing? And it's that kind of thing that will really, really help. Has anybody got any kind of sort of burning questions about the process itself? About what kind of they're worried about before we finish up to no time is crucial. From my perspective, I'm happy for anybody to come into any of my lessons if you want, or I'm happy to drop into anybody's lessons, just as a supportive kind of see what's going on. I like it because it's, you know, it spices up my day. It varies a little bit. I get bored sitting at my desk looking at timetables and admin, so I like going into lessons. It's more fun than anything else, and that's the way that it should be perceived. Seeing each other teach, seeing each other's students is why we're all here, not the kind of the stuff in the background. So do it as much as you can. Okay.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Ian. There's plenty of nibbles left.
Oh yeah, that's also why we're here.
Don't be shy.
Croissants.
Croissants are available. Go on, do it. Yeah, go and take one for Frost.
Which one do you think you'll like? One of those or?